A confident black man, wrongfully accused, standing tall in court as police who once mocked him realized the truth. He stood in the courtroom, hands folded calmly across his chest, the light gray suit fitting him like armor. His yellow tie glowed under the soft lights, but his face was unreadable. Behind him, a few officers whispered and chuckled quietly, still convinced this was all a joke. They didn't realize who he really was. Not yet. He had been in this same room weeks earlier, wrists downed, humiliated, accused of crimes that would destroy any man's future. But now, everything was about to change. This isn't just another courtroom story. It's about how truth can flip power on its head, and how one man's silence can echo louder than any accusation. If you've ever wanted to see arrogance crumble in the face of justice, stick around. This one's worth every second. Before we dive in, if you believe that no one should ever be judged by appearance or background, hit that like button and subscribe. Because what you're about to hear isn't just satisfying, it's unforgettable. A few months ago, Marcus Lee, a 34-year-old mechanical engineer, was driving home from work when flashing red and blue lights filled his rearview mirror. He pulled over, calm as always, expecting a routine stop. But the next few minutes turned his world upside down. The officers said they were looking for a suspect in a robbery, someone who, according to them, fit the description. Marcus tried to explain that he'd been at work the entire day, that he had time-stamped logs to prove it, but his words didn't matter. The only thing they saw was the color of his skin and the neighborhood he happened to be driving through. "Step out of the vehicle." They cuffed him right there, in front of passing cars as people slowed down to watch. His co-workers drove by on that same road, and the next morning, whispers spread through the office faster than wildfire. He spent the night in jail. No explanation, no apology. Just cold concrete, harsh lights, and the sound of officers laughing outside his cell. When his lawyer finally arrived, she was furious. The evidence was paper-thin, non-existent actually, a grainy camera image, a vague witness statement, and an overconfident detective who was certain he had his guy. Marcus was released, but the damage was done. His job suspended him, neighbors looked at him differently, his reputation shattered. But Marcus wasn't just some victim. He was patient, methodical, and smarter than anyone gave him credit for. Over the next few weeks, he quietly gathered everything he needed: security footage from his workplace, GPS records from his car, even his phone's movement logs. Piece by piece, the truth began to form. He wasn't just innocent. He could prove beyond any doubt that the department had made a massive mistake. So, when the case reopened for review, Marcus didn't come as a defendant. He came as an investigator, a federal one. Because what those officers never realized was that Marcus Lee wasn't just a mechanic. He worked as a systems analyst for a federal agency, one that specialized in digital forensics. And when he walked back into that courtroom, he wasn't there to plead for his freedom. He was there to expose theirs. The same officers who once mocked him were now seated behind the defense table, their faces tight with unease. The laughter that once filled the room was gone. All that remained was the low hum of tension as Marcus calmly set down a stack of documents. Without raising his voice, he presented the data. Timestamps, digital signatures, camera footage, everything meticulously lined up. The judge leaned forward, frowning. "Are you saying these officers falsified evidence?" Marcus met his gaze. "I'm saying, Your Honor, that they didn't care whether the evidence was real or not." You could feel the air shift. The officers avoided eye contact. One of them clenched his jaw, another's face went pale. The room fell silent. Marcus continued, steady and composed. "I told them I worked for the Federal Bureau, but they laughed. They said, "Sure you do." So I figured I'd let the evidence speak for itself. The judge turned to the defense. "Is this true?" No one answered. The irony was brutal. The same men who once stripped him of dignity now sat stripped of words. Then came the part that no one saw coming. Marcus reached into his briefcase and laid his credentials on the judge's desk, the real government-issued ID that proved exactly who he was. The courtroom murmured. One of the officers let out a shaky breath. The judge leaned back. "Mr. Lee, I owe you an apology." Marcus smiled faintly. "No apology necessary, Your Honor. I just want the record set straight." The ruling came down fast. The case was dismissed. Internal Affairs launched an investigation into the department's conduct. Within weeks, 2 officers were suspended without pay. Another quietly resigned. As Marcus left the courtroom, reporters crowded around him, cameras flashing. He didn't say much, just a few words that silenced the noise. Sometimes, you don't have to fight to be heard. You just have to let the truth speak louder than the lies. And behind him, the same officers who once grinned during his humiliation now stood frozen, realizing they had become the story. Justice doesn't always arrive with fury. Sometimes it walks in wearing a gray suit and a yellow tie, calm, collected, and unstoppable. If that story gave you chills, hit that like button and tell me, have you ever seen someone get the justice they truly deserved? And if you believe in standing up to arrogance and abusive power, subscribe for more stories that remind us silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the sound of strength waiting to strike.